Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today, and I don't think I've got enough colors on today. Ah yes, beautiful. So for those of you who are new here, which is like 8,000 of you since Cyberpunk dropped, thank you so much first of all, and if you're new here, do continue to hit that sub button for more Cyberpunk and RPG coverage. But yeah, sometimes we go back and forth between the office space and here at home, depending on whether or not I want to leave my house, and today, I just wanted to stay in my bedroom. More importantly, in today's video, we're talking about the console versions of Cyberpunk 2077, from the PS5 to the Series X to, of course, the base PS4 and the Xbox One. There's been, on the older hardware, some, how do I put this delicately? There have been issues, ladies and gentlemen, and we gotta go over all of that. Now, I promised all of you on my Twitter account that I was gonna buy the base PS4 version of Cyberpunk 2077 to test it out, but I saw the footage online and I felt like I was already convinced enough this would be a bad idea. So what I chose to do instead was I bought some holiday socks, okay? This was a wiser investment, I believe, because once I saw the widespread coverage, it told me right away that you should be waiting if you own a base PS4 or an Xbox One for Cyberpunk 2077, and even some of the next-gen consoles, which are running it in a backwards compatible mode currently, no next-gen update has come out, are struggling a little bit. We'll be highlighting that in today's video. But I wonder sometimes if what I'm saying even matters, because CD Projekt Red is seeing so much success with this game already. We're seeing some stats roll out, such as 74% digital distribution, as well as 26% physical distribution for the pre-orders, so this game is doing well digitally, and 8 million pre-orders, more importantly, so a lot of people have already bought this game and will continue to buy it because of how insanely popular it is. CD Projekt Red actually put out a tweet saying that they're truly humbled that so many of us trusted them and decided to support Cyberpunk 2077 before release. Even 8 million thank yous isn't enough. The journey has just begun and we are hard at work on upcoming fixes and updates to the game. See you in Night City. Alright, so yeah, they're working on patches and whatnot, and you might want to wait for those, just like even if it's a week or two, because base PS4 last night, it went trending. It went trending. That's how bad it was, man. There were memes pouring out of people making fun of the game, showing off older titles and pretending it was Cyberpunk. It was really funny, but it was pretty indicative of the experience folks were having. The best way to compare it, as I show PS4 gameplay of Cyberpunk 2077 in the background, is switch ports. That's what I couldn't help but think of. Like, the frame rate drops were there, the textures were awful, sometimes not loading in, but there was almost this marvel in your brain as you watched it just somehow hold on by a thread. You're like, how is this game running on this system here? I truly do believe CD Projekt Red, especially after playing it on PC, when I say that, yeah, this is somewhat of a next-gen game. Now, a lot of you may be wondering, why exactly did CD Projekt Red push for these games to be on current hardware if they're gonna run like this and look like this, and you're gonna have to wait for patches, and it clearly was not ready? The reality is the global unit sales of the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. To this date, there are 114 million units sold for the PlayStation 4. And when it comes to the Xbox, that's at almost 50 million units. So just to get our numbers straight, there's at least 150 plus million consoles out there. CD Projekt Red is not gonna leave all that money on the table. I know a lot of people like to pretend they're their best friends because they're like, hey, free DLC, right? But at the end of the day, it's still that they're gonna operate in a way that's gonna make them the most money. So yeah, they're gonna release this game on these consoles because right now, not enough people have bought into PS5 and Series X. I mean, the systems have sold out, but it's still a very small percentage of us compared to, of course, the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, where most people already have that in their homes. Eurogamer has a fantastic article showing some screenshots of the game running at different frame rates on the PS4 in what I imagine will be an upcoming Digital Foundry video that'll break the internet, and it goes as low as 15 FPS, which is just not okay. Even general exploration of the city sits in around the mid-20s, which once again is not good. Any action happening on screen shoots the frame rate down no matter what's happening. This game is hanging on by a thread on this hardware. And once again, we know why they sold it on this hardware, but it's just really disappointing to see, especially with how at times bad it looks. And I've seen some folks saying like, well, it's supposed to be a next-gen game, and why does it matter? What do people expect? I look at two distinct games that, in my opinion, are technical marvels on the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. And one of those games that I think is more comparative to, say, Cyberpunk is Red Dead Redemption 2. This game is beautiful, massive. It has an active open world. There's a lot of things to do. There's a lot of things happening. It has an insane next level of detail there. And I think when you look at that game and you look at Cyberpunk, there is a way to get Cyberpunk running and looking a lot better on these consoles. Once again, it's just clearly indicative that it wasn't ready. Another example, although it is a lot more linear, is The Last of Us Part 2. And this was exclusive to PlayStation 4, so that's still a game where it's hard to compare. I think Red Dead Redemption 2 is the more fair comparison, but still, when you look at The Last of Us Part 2, that game looked visually, we can talk about story, gameplay, all that stuff in a separate video, but when you look at it, just look at it, yeah, that thing looks super next gen. So there's a way to get it even looking better. Like, these consoles could have more power squeezed out of them. And as consoles get older, it's not supposed to get worse in the way where you're less familiar with the technology and you see games like chugging along. You're supposed to optimize, you're supposed to figure this type of stuff out because we've been familiar with it for so many years. So for those of you out there who have a base PS4 or an Xbox One from 2013, which I'm actually showing some gameplay in the background right now, some of my community got involved sending me some gameplay, which I really appreciate because it can represent both sides of the discussion. And sometimes this does look just like a technical achievement. It's like, wow, it's running at 30 FPS. It looks great. I mean, if this is what they can bring, that's fantastic. But I have friends who were like super excited for this game. They own the base PS4, they own the Xbox One, and they thought their hype could just override it, right? Like, oh, visual bugs, whatever. Oh, frame rate dips, that'll be fine. I'm sure it's not that terrible. Even they are having a sour experience. Like, my girlfriend canceled her pre-order. She was like, I'm just gonna wait for a patch. Like, I don't need to play it right now. And I recommend you all do the same. But what if you're owning a next-gen console like a Series X or a PS5? How is it running there? Well, the Series X actually seems to be doing a really good job with Cyberpunk 2077. It seems like the safest console right now to buy it on. I've also heard great things about the Series S. But when it comes to PlayStation 5, Push Square, one of my favorite dedicated PlayStation sites, has a very interesting report that I think needs more eyes on it. I'll have that linked in the description down below, but let's take a quick read. As you may or may not know, we've been absolutely hammering Cyberpunk 2077 in order to bring you coverage here on Push Square. We're now at around 20 hours into the open world RPG, but we started running into a real problem. The game crashes consistently from what we can tell during longer sessions. To be clear, we're playing on a PS5 through backwards compatibility. As we noted in our Cyberpunk 2077 PS5, PS4 Pro, and PS4 performance article, the game runs well on Sony's current gen console, offering a mostly smooth 60 frames per second. It's a bit buggy now and then, but so far nothing's got in the way of us being fully immersed in Night City. Okay, so far so good, right? Especially the 60 FPS, that is something super noteworthy. That is great to see because there hasn't even been a next gen upgrade, and the fact that this console is running what is supposed to be a next gen experience off the bat at 60 FPS, great stuff. But we're sad to say that these crashes are really starting to wear thin. We'd estimate that for every hour and a half of uninterrupted gameplay, we're hit with a crash. A software crash, mind you, the kind where the game runs into an error and the application is forced to close. By our count, we've had 9 crashes so far. Based on our experience, these crashes tend to happen whenever the game is loading a new area or new assets in general. For example, we've had a crash when entering a different district of Night City and when a key story scenario has transitioned to a new scene. Fortunately, the game does a lot of autosaving, so we haven't lost much progress, but even so, this is far from ideal. We looked around online to see whether or not everyone is having this problem, and we found a few forum posts here and there that suggest the same issue. But of course, Cyberpunk 2077 only just launched today at the time of writing this, so we're not expecting it to be a big deal as of yet, if it is indeed a widespread problem. I also saw my buddy Spawnwave post a tweet saying he's had multiple crashes on PS5, so I wouldn't be too surprised if this is a lot more widespread. There clearly needs to be more patches, fixes, optimization on the console front. Now this all works its way full circle back to the review process. Myself, multiple members of the media, and other YouTubers had access to this game ahead of launch, and as some of you may or may not be aware, it was only on PC. It was just straight up PC. They straight up told us right off the bat, hey, no console codes. You're not getting any. It's PC or get out of here. And so, of course, we take them up on the PC copies, thinking that maybe it would be one of those best case scenarios where you don't get to see the console version, but that when it does release, yeah, it's at least going to be running just fine, and it's more so that they were working up to the last possible minute to get that functioning, and the best build was on PC. What's happened here is now it's been pretty much fully revealed that the reason that they didn't give us console copies and they wanted us to use B-roll and trailers in our initial reviews on Monday before the game came out was because they were not confident in the build of this game before it came out, and they knew the status of it heading into its launch, that it did not look good. And I think that's messed up because reviews are designed to inform consumers. The fact that they wanted us to go ahead and take trailers, carefully crafted trailers where there isn't a hiccup, a bug, that's advertisement, man. And I'm not here to advertise your game. I'm here to inform consumers if your game is worth it, right? And for a company that so proudly preaches all the time of, oh yes, we are for the consumer, to do something like that, man, it's like a backhand. It's ridiculous in my opinion, and I was really disappointed by this. Now, I don't want to overreact too much because I feel like CD Projekt Red has earned some of that goodwill, right? This is where you cash in the goodwill check, right? They've done a lot of things for consumers that were pro-consumer, and we do appreciate that. So that's why you're seeing a little more leeway. If this was EA, Bethesda, who else? Activision, like, yeah, man, like they would be having the world crashing down on them like constantly. But it's CD Projekt Red, so some are going easy on them, and I get the goodwill, but at the same time, they have to be held accountable. This cannot be acceptable, right? This console release cannot be acceptable. You have to delay it again if this is the case. I mean, we're seeing textures barely even loaded on character models. Like some of the bare minimum stuff when you're right in front of a character isn't even working. It's not even streaming in data properly. That's just not all right. So, you know, I'm very disappointed with the console version. And like I said, I was going to pick it up to test for all of you, but when I saw it, I thought, I don't want to give them another $60 when they got 8 million pre-orders. You know, they're a multi-million-dollar company. They're fine. They don't need my $60 and they don't need yours. Give it to them when it is earned. On the PC, it seems like everything's fine. Although even there, like I said on my review, PC can be really hard to troubleshoot issues. I have a friend with a 3080 who was running it at like 39 FPS, he was saying consistently. So it's just one of those things, man, where who knows? Who knows on PC? Meanwhile, I got a 980 Ti and I was running it on high settings, no problem. Like, I don't know, man. That's why consoles are great, because they're usually the safe bet, which makes this all the more unacceptable. So even if you wanted to binge the game, the fact that it's gonna crash a lot, yeah, man, I mean, this is a technical mess, it looks like right now. We will see how CD Projekt Red responds. I imagine with the widespread criticism and people talking about it, and it will only continue to ramp up, that we will hear more from them in the coming days. Like, I'd say by Saturday, the latest, we should be hearing something from CD Projekt Red on what they're doing with these consoles or addressing it publicly. They're usually pretty on top of that stuff because they understand the value of it. So we will see. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, I leave it in your hands. What do you think of this? Are you playing Cyberpunk 2077 on consoles? Are you having a solid time with it? Some people are. It's not like it's just everyone across the board. Some people are. So let me know your experience. And with that, I leave it in your hands. Follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. Big thank you to all the patrons and all the members who continue to sign up, supporting what I'm doing here. I appreciate each and every single one of you, and I'll talk with you soon. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.